Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast with your host, Dr. Tony Huang. Today, we're with a special guest, Santosh. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me, Dr. Tony. I'm Santosh Kaveti, the CEO of a technology services firm called ProArch, based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Very cool. So, most C-suite execs right now, they're reporting AI as a strategic priority, but only like a handful of them, I think only like a quarter of them have really achieved like meaningful enterprise-wide implementation. So as someone helping enterprises operationalize AI, what's like the foundational disconnect that you're seeing between AI ambition and the actual execution?
That's a really good question. So when we talk to enterprise clients, right, we see this pattern repeatedly. They've got pilot projects running, maybe some departmental AI tools, but when it comes to operationalizing AI at scale, they hit a wall. Um, there is a lot of study that's done. One of the latest research shows that 63% of companies lack basic AI governance policies. Only about 25% of generative AI initiatives are properly secured, and that's just not sustainable, especially when you're talking about mission critical business processes. Um, if I look at what are some of the challenges, right? The readiness gap is what I call it. Um, for example, I'll share one data point. IBM's 2025 cost of data breach report shows that AI adoption is outpacing AI security and governance by dangerous margin, right? So the readiness gap includes all kinds of readiness. We have a framework called AI readiness framework that we go through to assess. There is a skill gap, the AI literacy gap, just understanding gap. There's governance vacuum. There's a shadow AI problem. So the readiness gap is something that I think is a good starting point. AI is not a technology problem. It's really the people, culture, and readiness problem. That's a huge blocker for many organizations. The way we approach this is we call it the four pillars of AI operationalization, right? One is have an AI governance framework. That's the first pillar. Okay. Then have a security first architecture framework. That's your second pillar. You then need to look at data and model lifecycle management. You know, treating AI models like critical business assets with proper lifecycle management is extremely important. That includes version control, performance monitoring, and we've seen this, right? There are new models emerging almost every week. This last week was a model. There were so many new models released, including GPT-5. You need to treat them through a proper life cycle management, and that's super important. Okay, and the fourth pillar is compliance and risk management. And as go through the adoption journey, and as the regulation is kicking in through various different acts, and as the current regulation is also being updated, right? You need to understand your AI risks. Risk categorization, impact assessments are extremely important. Then we, of course, get into implementation strategy once you have a good foundation. But my typical, pitch is understand your AI readiness, understand your AI risks, and then start creating a good foundation and implementation strategy. Start with your AI inventory because you can't manage what you don't know exists, right? And then start scaling and start optimizing.
So I'm curious, like there's like a survey I read recently where I think like 70% of like C-suite execs reported like friction between their IT units and their business units during the AI adoption process. Like how would you like help bridge this divide, especially when like IT teams are concerned about like security, like data leakage, while business units are like pushing for like more rapid development?
That's a really good question, Tony. Traditionally, when we look at traditional, software deployments or ERP rollouts, IT controlled a lot of those decisions. I think there is a huge paradigm shift with AI. Business and business owners are ready to adopt, and they want to jump in and do something with AI, and that's creating the friction. Uh, and we're seeing that with our clients too. Whereas business owners are ready to innovate, embrace AI, whereas IT is not. I think a lot of that is really boils down to bridging the comms between the both groups. I think they both want the same thing. Um, IT is looking at from security perspective, from risk perspective, and business is looking at efficiency gains perspective, or maybe creating new services, new revenue streams perspective, right? And the answer there is, in a way, they're all looking at the same thing. Security is not an afterthought, especially when it comes to AI, because of how fast it can scale. The impact of a breach, impact of an error is also going to be at scale, and it will be magnified proportionately. I think that basic understanding and making security uh, every part of AI layer, adoption layer, and monitoring layer, I think is super critical. I think once you establish that proper AI governance strategy, then you can literally then you can begin the journey of actual proper adoption, operationalization, and scaling. But we see that friction, with almost all of our clients. There is a huge friction between IT and security teams and the business teams right now. And this is, in fact, this is an interesting, discussion because in the past we used to work with a lot of IT teams, CIOs. Now the business owners are the primary drivers of AI, and that's where the friction is magnified.
I see. So like right now, I know that like the employees themselves, they want to get ahead. So they use like shadow AI, right? So like in the past, it's been shadow IT where they have like a laptop, like their own personal laptop, and they're doing something on the side. But now with like ChatGPT, for instance, they could just pull up ChatGPT on the side and try to get ahead in terms of like work. So with like, I think the report was like maybe like a third of all employees are now using out of the pocket AI tools, and there's like widespread unauthorized AI usage, creating compliance gaps. So like, how should like CEOs or like the C-suite like approach governance without like stifling innovation?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, and you're absolutely right. Shadow AI is a real problem. Um, Look, I think the first is education, comms, change management is extremely important. We've seen this from companies like Samsung, just through an employee at Samsung using ChatGPT to leak some, and then that's reactive governance is shutting everything down and banning everything. That's never a good thing for innovation. I think it starts with a really good understanding of the advantages of using AI, but AI that you can govern, monitor, and put the guardrails around. AI that you can proactively and reactively, assess and monitor. So unless you have that ecosystem, it's very difficult to manage. Yes, that's essentially where you have to have AI readiness and AI governance framework as a first step. Without that, you can't really move forward in a meaningful way. And shadow AI is a real problem because you are literally, uh, you know, train violating every regulation that you can think of, and that's never a good thing. So our answer to that is typically AI readiness, AI literacy, and AI governance. Start there.
Gotcha. And then in terms of like IT, like critical infrastructures, like how are you seeing AI like create new attack vectors for like operational technology environments? And like what keeps you up at night regarding like AI security for like critical infrastructure?
Oh, um, one way to describe that, Tony, is in IT, if there is a breach, Okay, you lose money, you lose reputation. In OT, if there is a breach, you could lose lives. So that's as simple as that. So the convergence of IT and OT with AI creates unprecedented opportunities for operational efficiency and predictive capabilities. But it also, as you rightly said, introduces new attack vectors and safety risks that require specialized security and governance approaches. This is where things get really interesting. When we talk about AI and critical infrastructure, whether it's manufacturing, energy, utilities, healthcare, we're not just dealing with data and algorithms, we're dealing with physical systems as well that can impact safety, environmental conditions, and critical services, right? Traditionally, OT systems were air gapped, isolated from IT networks for security and safety reasons. But AI requires data flow between IT and OT to deliver value, predictive maintenance, optimization, anomaly detection, and so on. That convergence is now opening up new attack vectors. The challenges there are legacy systems integration, real time requirements, and you always are fighting between safety and security. And the advantages, of course, are predictive maintenance revolution. I mean, once you're able to get the OT data into the IT layer and and combining both of these data sets, then you really can unlock a lot of potential. Whether it's predictive maintenance, whether it's operational optimization, whether it's anomaly detection and security. And the way we recommend we do is zero trust for OT. Okay, security architecture has to be the center of this. As you know, we're a Microsoft partner. We use Microsoft Zero Trust Framework that extends through OT. Then we recommend secure data diodes, the one-way paths from OT to IT, not bidirectional, to minimize the attack paths. We have also secure edge AI architecture if you're going to use edge devices and edge processing. Make sure that you have really good incident response for IT and OT both. And that's where your security controls become super important on both sides. So historically, let's say the manufacturing companies or even power generation companies, they thought they were secure because they were air gapped, but that's no longer the case for many reasons. And that's where security by design has to be the fundamental thesis to protect. But once you can do that, you really can unlock and deliver, exceptional value.
And then with like AI in the news, uh, like for instance, like the EU AI Act, there's like emerging US federal guidelines as well. And then there's like sector specific regulations that's like creating a very complex like legal landscape. So how would you advise other like C-suite to like build on how like build compliance frameworks that won't be obsolete in like the next year and a half or 2 years?
In most cases, Tony, a good security hygiene um, will lead to better compliance. Compliance, is really the result of good security hygiene. And when it comes to AI, you cannot treat AI risk and AI security the same as traditional software security or even traditional IT security. Um, that's where the understanding of AI risks is super important. Now, the prerequisite is data. Understanding your data and understanding your data risks is a super important prerequisite. And protecting the data and protecting the risks of data is super important. It's where data security comes into play. And we have a very good set of programs for that, including using Microsoft tool sets like Purview. Now, when you go to AI, right, you're now talking about bias, fairness, the accuracy, hallucinations, potential of prompt injections. I mean, ChatGPT, within 24 hours of releasing ChatGPT 5, there was a new technique called echo chamber to break it. And model theft. data poisoning. These are the really new risks that we were not aware of, that did not exist before. That's what AI brings to the table. So you need to have AI security controls in place. Once you understand the risks, only then you can start protecting them. And you have to have proactive AI and reactive AI. We have AI red teaming, exercises as well. So without understanding the risks, it's very difficult to say what kind of controls you have to have in place. And once you do understand all the risks, then you can start putting AI controls in place. Once you put controls in place, typically once you're able to um, be transparent and you're able to explain, and that's where responsible or explainable AI is super important, then you tend to meet most regulations. Yes, in some cases you have to geofence, some cases you have to say take some additional protections, but in most cases it all boils down to bias, representation of data, fairness, discrimination, and transparency. If you take care of these foundational pieces, in most cases you end up becoming compliant. Of course, we have frameworks through to quantify the compliance risk and map the proper controls. So we always go from the compliance side as well to see if you have all the controls in place to comply. But what we've seen is if you maintain good hygiene, in most cases you're okay.
And then switching
And,
gears over.
the one last point there, the regulation is going to change because we still are learning. We don't know, um, all the risks of AI because even the risks are emerging, and that's what is that's what it makes it very difficult to really say, okay, we've got this covered because there are new risks that are emerging that AI is posing as the models are evolving, as the agentic framework is evolving, as the protocols like MCP are allowing multi-agent frameworks to work together with the institutional enterprise data. I think the AI risks are also evolving. So this is not one and done. Regulation will evolve and the practices will evolve. Both will evolve.
Now, Microsoft recently introduced a thing called like security co-pilot agents, and they and like a new AI threat protection. Your company's like a Microsoft partner, so like, how are you seeing these tools change the enterprise like security landscape, and like should CEOs know about implementing them, and like what should CEOs know about implementing them effectively?
Oh, see, I mean, we're a strategic partners of Microsoft. Uh, the way I would describe Microsoft is they are not just giving you a bunch of tools, they are genuinely looking at everything from AI native world, the cloud infrastructure, data, the productivity tools, are all now AI powered or AI enabled. Copilot is one example. When you know it's not just one tool. When you know how to use Copilot, you're becoming a champion from with Excel, with Outlook and PowerPoint and so on. But then they're also giving the tools to understand the risks and protect. Security Copilot is one example. They now have Defender for cloud, Defender for identity endpoints. All of them are now they can manage and then they can look at AI workload, AI applications, AI content, including Purview, for example. Specifically talking about security for Copilot, right? We are able to reduce the noise, the time it takes to really look at the noise, all the alerts, all the login, and the amount of time what used to take probably let's just say an hour to go through probably now take only a minute or less than a minute. So you can really focus on the signal once you start using the Sentinel and security pilot the way they intended to design. So it's definitely increasing the productivity. It's making us more efficient. It's allowing us to focus on what matters and allowing us to look at everything from AI native perspective. And that's what the beauty of Microsoft is. They are truly investing on both sides. How can enterprises embrace AI into their workflows? as well as protect. It's just not about, if I look at the AI adoption, I look at it from three different perspectives. You have human plus AI assistant like Copilot, then you have human plus human led and agent operated world. Now you have human orchestrated, agent led, and sometimes agent orchestrated world. And they've done a wonderful job of not only giving you the tools, whether it's Copilot, Copilot Studio, ML Labs, Azure OpenAI, or AI services to Foundry, all the way. And of course, to feed all of this, they have Fabric that really governs the enterprise data very well. But they also gave all the tools necessary to monitor, manage, and assess the risks, and proactively and reactively both. And they're all AI enabled as well. So it's there is a security for AI and there is a AI for security. They're coming at it from both perspectives, and that's the beauty of Microsoft systems like Microsoft.
So when you're like integrating AI with legacy operational tech systems, that's like it's considered like notoriously complex, especially like in critical infrastructure. What's your like playbook for helping manufacturers and like utility companies safely bridge this gap without disrupting operations?
You said it right. For manufacturing companies, right, for IT systems, the criteria is different. As I said, for OT systems on the floor, the criteria, availability, throughput, so are super important for them. So when when they look at, once their AI readiness is established, AI governance established, you start going through your AI inventory. You start with the business problems. What are they really trying to solve with AI? And then figure out how to bring AI in, whether it's an AI that sits on top of their current application, or in many cases, what's happening right now to introduce additional factor into this complexity is most of their applications that they use are also now AI enabled. All the vendors, all the third party vendors are now saying, hey, my an application or my ERP is now AI enabled. And that also poses another risk, which is third party risk that we have to address. But it's about really giving them going through the inventory, prioritizing the inventory, and then doing it in such a way. Of course, we have to go through the AI and ML ops processes, so that when it goes live, the interruption to them is minimal. But there are ways to do that where they can still preserve their operational integrity and the criteria that they need. But on top of that, AI really needs to add value. That's what we recommend. But all of that, AI readiness, AI governance, and then AI inventory, and then you start looking at what which is what AI applications are the best ones to help them, and then you can map out how to monitor them continuously for a lot of different, from model drift to model performance to whole nine yards.
And then there are some like reports that show that AI powered cyber attacks can now like bypass traditional defenses in like less than a minute. Like how how are you helping like critical infrastructure operators develop more like real-time defense capabilities to match these like emergent threats that are coming up?
Overall, I must say, Tony, that security is still catching up, you know, and when it comes to AI, um, there are so many new vectors now. Now there is AI powered cyber attacks. These are traditional cyber attacks, but they're all AI powered. They're getting really good at that. But then there are AI risks that AI applications themselves pose, like prompt injection attack, or the echo chamber that I was talking about, and a few other things. The good news is that if you make security part of the life cycle, the model life cycle management of data and I think for the most part you're covered. And it is still an afterthought. As much as I want to say that that's not the case, security is still an afterthought. As you rightly said, right? People are eager to just use ChatGPT on the side. A shadow AI is a big risk for organizations today. Now, we do have ways to monitor we call it digital risk management, to see how much of your data through shadow AI is out there. Just to give you some understanding, give organizations some understanding of, look, your employees are using it, and therefore we need better controls, whether they are through policies, whether they are through controls. There is a way to do that. But for the most part, we're still being reactive, but we don't have to be. If security becomes the crux of your life cycle management, then you are actually, in a really good shape in most organizations.
And then I'm also curious, like with like 42% of like enterprises reporting that AI adoption is like tearing their company apart due to power struggles and like organizational conflicts. What advice do you give to like the C-suite who want to lead the AI transformation without destroying their culture? And then like how do you help them become AI ready leaders rather than just AI aware executives?
Oh, that's a big struggle. We've seen, I mean, we were impacted too. In some cases, we went into enterprises and we were ready to solve a problem. We couldn't, only because of the power struggle you just explained. Everybody seems to be fighting for some credit or recognition. I think I think there is a myth that we need to create a centralized AI team that will somehow solve all my problems. I think that, in my opinion, is a big problem because they're hiring, hey, enterprise AI director. They're going to decide what we need to do. Business owners feel like they need the ownership and they want to take their responsibility, as opposed to creating a framework, readiness, literacy, and governance and adoption framework that lets the business owners thrive, take the ownership. It's very difficult. What's happening when you create a centralized team is the business owners are resisting that and saying, no, I want to do this, the way I want to do this. And we see this, we're seeing this as a common pattern across many enterprises. So our recommendation is not to jump and create a structure that your teams are not going to embrace. You'll just end up spending millions of dollars and do nothing. I think the teams will have to, I think establishing a proper governance framework through which business owners can be innovative and adopt AI and thrive. I think as long as they do it with security in mind and they embrace those, in action, execution, they will get a lot out of that. They will get so much out of AI than just top down pushing through AI approach.
And then for the listeners at home who want to know, learn a little bit more about this, what's like the best way to get in contact with you?
LinkedIn, our website, we're very active. They can reach out to me through LinkedIn, reach out to anybody at ProArch through our website. We're constantly out there, so we're very active. That's the best way.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show. And for the listeners at home, stay curious.